Family is a force.
Family is a force. Yeah. When everybody's doing their part and pulling their weight.
Yeah. Even when everybody's down on it, the family can pull it together and tromp on it. We're going to tell the story, a success story of the lady sitting next to me, who happens to be our daughter.
So on today's podcast, this is the first time I've had guests. And I think it's actually really beautiful that my very first guests are my mom and dad. And the whole reason why this podcast exists, why I exist. So I am going to introduce you to Vicki.
Hello.
And Jean. And we are going to take you back 20 some years.
Yeah.
On that fateful day when I got bamboozled into taking over the family business.
And I was only 65, a young 65.
A young 65 at the time. Okay, Jean, take it away.
Yeah, so Vicki was schlepping these 50 pounds of forms across airports. And she said, I don't know why my neck hurts. And I said, this is not healthy for either one of us. And so I'm off driving the truck, which was like a covered wagon, a 10-year-old Ford, and by myself crossing Texas in a hailstorm. And I thought, boy, this doesn't work very well, or I may not even make it back. So Vicki called and she said, my investors and my associates, they think we're going to go deep in debt promoting this dance competition. And I'm thinking of just dumping it. And they've got me scared to death. And I said, just hang on. I said, I've got an idea. And so I go a little further and I get back alive. And the idea was to recruit a woman, a daughter, a beauty, that young, business experience, a dancer, on and on and on. And so I approached Vicki first. I said, she's in a prison. You're working for, I don't know, hourly wage. And you've spent 20 years developing this thing. I said, what if I recruit her to come on board and be half owner and later total owner? She said, oh, she's got security. And it's a government job she has. She's not going to give that up. I said, give me 5. So I go to the prison where she works. And I brush into a guy and he goes, don't you touch me. And I said, whoa, and I said, where's Amber Anthony? They said, well, she's around the corner over here. So I said, well, we can't talk very much here, but here's an idea I have. You're working for hourly wage and your government job and you get dental and medical. And I think you can do better than that. And you
actually, Amber said that because you said that you'd like to recruit her because of her business expertise.
Yeah.
And she said that. She says, but I get dental.
Yeah. Well, and because the reason that was so important is because growing up, both my parents were entrepreneurs and business owners. And back then, there was no covered California or anything.
Right.
So I learned early on that, when you're an independent contractor, when you're a business owner, it was very expensive to get healthcare. And that was actually one of the first expenses that was grilled into me at the age of 16, 17. And I remember it was $114 a month. And I had healthcare before I had auto insurance. Because I was so terrified. But I also remember always having to pay out of pocket for dental. And, and my biggest fear, as a matter of fact, this is a little off subject, but when I got pregnant with Isaiah, the first thing I thought, God's honest truth, how am I going to afford his braces? That was my first thought when I found out I was pregnant. So I think I was just so traumatized by the dental and medical.
And here was the clincher that made me determined to just drag you into the business. You sat there and absolutely seriously, you said, in 25 years, if I stay in this prison job, I can retire early. And my heart just shattered.
Well, and so that's also key too, because you had a different mindset than I had, than Mom had. So let's speak a little bit about that, because if it wasn't for your mindset, if it wasn't for your personal experience and not following the traditional path, being indoctrinated, working in a, in a factory or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Because obviously you're from Chicago. So
Yeah.
it could have totally went that route.
Oh.
Or you could have stayed in the military,
Yeah.
right? But you bet on yourself.
I was in the Korean War. That kind of cured that.
Took away that glamour.
They didn't even give me the dress blue uniform. They took a picture of me with a little thing in front with the blessed shirt. Now you had to buy your own uniform.
So it was no trips to Greece or Italy.
No.
Okay.
So anyway, you were asking me about how I changed my mindset. Anyway, so I'm in Hawaii, and there's a company. I see this beautiful piece of land, and I called Dan, who was an engineer for Kaiser Aetna, Henry J. Kaiser and Aetna Life. Nothing but money. And Dan said, I said, well, it's a beautiful piece of land. He said, why don't they build something on it? He said, oh, no brokers are interested. It's at least 3 miles from Diamond Head. And I said, 3 miles from Diamond Head? And they had ocean and marina views. So I said, boy, I was a broker. I said, I'd love to work on that. He said, well, let's go down to the main office, see the president of the company. And he said, you're interested? I mean, he was shocked. And so, long story short, he said, well, how are you going to sell a 120-unit building and there's no building? I said, you give me the listing. I'll get it sold. So I said, we're going to need a couple $100,000. I want a helicopter, and I want to go fly up with a good cameraman. I want to take pictures 360 for 12 stories. And then I want a model just built on the site, wood, didn't matter what. And then I threw a cocktail party to end all cocktail parties. I sold 65% of it at the party. After that, they gave me a 600-acre development.
There you go. And so because you had this personal experience, which, mind you, Mom and I hadn't. So we just knew the reality of working hard.
Yes.
7 days a week.
That's it.
Working hard, barely making ends meet.
But you keep plodding along.
You keep plodding along.
With really no intention of where this is going. I mean, you want to be successful, but the main thing is you deliver the product. That was the bottom line.
Well, and that's the thing, is always being an artistic success.
Yes.
But Mom had a dance studio, dance competition for several years, but her reputation was impeccable. Just not the complete business savvy, to your point.
Yeah, I remember at the end of one award ceremony, at the end of the day, when I said, oh, what a wonderful show. Wasn't that show great? And they were like, you lost a fortune on that show, but it was an artistic success. Mm-hmm. So I was happy. It's a different mindset, that's all.
It's a different mindset, but one that I value, because when you combine the excellence and the artistic success with a strategy and fiscal responsibility, that's where the magic happens. And I don't have your gift.
And I don't have your gift. So what a combination.
What's switched me on too, I was making maybe $25,000 as a broker until Dan gave me that break. The next year, I paid $58,000 in tax because I earned $158,000. Now, $158,000 in 1962.
Ton of money.
It'd be $1 million today.
Yeah.
So I went like, wow, liberate your mind. To hell everything, just go for it. And that was a big success. So now, adding to how I recruited you, which I'm really, really pleased about. The
ROI was okay, huh?
It's a success story.
Okay.
And so I said to you, well, at least let's go talk to Mom, because you don't want to stay in prison 25 years just because you can get a tooth filled or a bracelet or something. And so you came to the house, and I said, Vicki, meet your new president of Rainbow Dance Connection. We changed it from Connection. We dropped the Connection. And she said, really? And I said, yeah. And as I was telling Vicki, I was in the garage pulling this 200-pound desk through the door. And I said, this is your office. I don't know how long you stayed in
the basement for several years. You know, it was
several years.
Look, we ran so lean and mean that it took several years before I could justify getting a $1,200 a month office.
Yeah.
$1,200 a month.
Yeah.
And for those of you, because now businesses and people in business, they talk so openly about money, about their top lines and bottom lines. Back then, we just didn't. But the company was
didn't have a top or bottom line.
But the company was doing a top line of 1.5 when I finally could justify a $1,200 a month rent.
And I was nervous about the lease. I almost talked you out of it.
I mean, that's just to illustrate how conservative, responsible. But the other thing that was really important too is that the company, like all companies, it did have some debt. Her best friend at the time was lovely and was an investor and was a partner, one of the early partners in the business. And there was a debt owed on the balance sheet. And I don't know if she ever thought she was ever going to get paid back. So. But that's honestly one of my proudest things.
You should be.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful thing to do.
We paid her back in full.
In full.
And Susie.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Susie.
We're talking about Susie.
And then you sent us around the world a couple of times. That was a nice payment too.
That was a nice payment. Yep, that was the power of business deductions. Because the other thing too with the dance competition, on top of being an artistic success, but because dance is so near and dear to our hearts, we had so many scholarships and performance opportunities where we sent dancers to Canada and Italy and Australia and really did some meaningful things, really meaningful. And when I say with little to no money and all of our profit, we always made sure to just go huge for these dancers.
I'm going to take credit for something right now.
Please.
Since we're on camera.
No, by all means.
I was at the desk there above your office and you were in the basement. And I went, you know what? Wouldn't it be nice to give a teddy bear to these little guys? Because I also take credit for filming on video about 10,000 dances.
Yes. Oh, yeah. You were the video guy.
I was
the video girl for some years.
So anyway, I said, how about a nice teddy bear for these little babies that even can't dance? They crawl out on the floor. They're so cute. And you go, yeah, great idea. So that went on for a while. Over the years, the bear got larger and larger. It wouldn't fit in the car.
I don't know how people took it home.
It's our coveted mascot award.
The mascot award. And I came up with the word mascot. Mm-hmm. And the little babies are sitting in front of it. And this thing is about as big as a house.
Yes.
And it's still popular.
It's still popular. And remember, something that our competition did that no other competitions did is we changed the backdrop every single year.
Yes.
And those backdrops were $8,000. And every year we would come up with a new theme to give a new experience, to give a new look, and that's something that, the industry doesn't really do then or now.
Yeah.
But we took a lot of pride in that.
Well, I think also Vicki made a thing out of the mascot thing because little tiny dancers didn't get much respect.
Right.
And she just was all over them with love and this, and then the parents,
Yeah. Well, that was mom's bread and butter, was your babies.
Oh, yeah.
That was your specialty.
Oh, that was my specialty.
But please note, guys, this was back in the day when it was just competitive. There were no levels in dance competition. No. So you being 8 were competing against the 15-year-olds, period.
Absolutely.
So it was a different time. So we were kind of very strategic to create other opportunities and other ways to celebrate all ages, all levels, before what you now know as, multiple levels in dance competitions. So that was something that we did early on. Really, just as we think back, like just really beautiful story, but definitely the mindset of Amber, join this business. You have a skill set that is not yet in this business. And So I started bringing my expertise. So obviously you had a whole staff that had been working for you for years.
Oh, yeah, I have a staff.
So here I come traipsing in, and full transparency, I'm a train wreck. I quit my job at the county. I came home. I told Isaiah's dad I quit my job. He packed his bags and moved. Okay.
I don't think I knew about that.
Yeah. The golden goose was no longer a golden goose because she wasn't getting her county check anymore.
And while you were working 24 hours a day, I had Isaiah sitting on my arm for 4 years, and he and I used to watch Arnold Schwarzenegger pumping iron. And the dog. I got your dog too, Foxy.
Because I had to travel. So part of the gig is you come, you work in the office, which was the basement of the house, and then you have to travel. Back then the shows weren't as big, so we could leave on Thursday night or Friday morning. And then you come home Monday. Right. Well, I had a kid that the dad didn't want to watch on the weekends conveniently.
I got a little story I want you to bring up too, because I like to take a little credit here and there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. So Vicki and I are going cross country to find theaters. The prices are off the chart. I mean, like they're going, well, we want for a weekend, we want $35,000. And I went like, so we're driving across and there's big floods, just like they have in, and we're still in California. Was that California?
No.
We're in building to where I got the 5-year.
Oh, Wisconsin Dells.
Okay.
Oh, Wisconsin
No,
Dells.
that was game changer.
Yeah. So
that was a game changer.
That was the real estate agent to me. So buildings are falling into the lake.
Yeah.
It was that big of rain. The Wisconsin Dells, which where they had the swimming and everything. So we're sitting down with them, and we said, "Yeah, we're really interested in renting the theater for this amount." And he said, "Oh, yes, that's fine," because they were worried that nobody's ever going to see the water drain away. And I said, "However, I said, it's very precarious. You never know; there might be another storm or whatever." And I said, "We'd like a option for 5 more years at the same price."
Yeah.
That worked, didn't it?
Well, and let me tell you the power of this from a business standpoint, because we got to Wisconsin Dells. That was our national finals. We did well. Okay. And so at that point we had 800, 900, 1,100 acts, which is a big national finals. Right. And the fact that our overhead was so low, those events were profitable. Whereas now generally national finals are not profitable. Yeah. You're lucky to break even because these hotels and casinos won't give you those types of deals. So again, in the early days where we were restructuring the business, paying off debt, etc., that gave us the power to do all those things. So it was this amazing negotiation, perfect timing, perfect execution, but then taking care of business.
Yes.
Right? And so we lived still very below our means. We didn't take advantage of the cash flow. We didn't get greedy early. We kept reinvesting in the business. I believe Rainbow was one of the first businesses to start to introduce the verbal critiques because it was expensive. Yeah. Because back in the day, it was just the score sheets, right? And I knew the importance of doing more, right? Because how could I compete with all of these successful dance competitions, who, by the way, were owned by very savvy men, who had been in the business? I mean, back then there were very few women dance competition owners and not 25-year-old dance competition owners, right? So how were we going to provide value? So that was very expensive to do. Whereas those other dance competitions, no shot would they spend an extra $2,000 a weekend. Yeah.
I might add your sister Heidi came on board to help with the equivocation,
adjudication, which I used to get very upset with Mom about. So also hiring family at the right time. Sidebar: Heidi has been amazing, my sister, to date, because she's come back to work for Rainbow.
How did you? Because all those papers, they were buried in papers.
Yes.
And you finally got them on the computers.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Amber got us the computer.
Yeah.
But she got in trouble for it.
I worked with an associate who said that we cannot spend a dime on anything. And I said, but our system is old. We shouldn't do this anymore with the writing. And I got in. I sneaked the computer. I said, Danielle, just go to that table and we'll spin. And she was doing it, and he saw it, and
lost it.
Lost it.
Well, and so today, strategy specialist, I'm heavy on operations and systems and processes. So I saw a broken system and process.
Of course.
Number one, there was too much room for error. Number two, it was too much time, right? And since we're trading time for money on stage, it's important to keep things running quickly, right, and efficiently. So,
the person that was most upset about spending a few dollars on a computer was the first one to give his interest in the company back for free.
That is very true.
Which worked to our advantage because he was just worried to death.
Yes.
And we relieved him of that fear.
Of that fear and that worry.
But by this day, it probably would have been worth a couple of $100,000.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and so that's another important takeaway. Again, and that's really the premise of this podcast episode is about the mindset, right? Because many of us walk away from opportunities or don't fully invest in opportunities. Obviously, you have to vet them. They have to be sound. You have to have a strategy, and there's a lot of sacrifice. But a lot of it is just being too small-minded. Mm-hmm. And that's something you never were.
No.
So you
small brain, but
not small-minded.
No.
Which you introduced that to me and Mom because we couldn't fathom any of that. So and so obviously I made plenty of speeches at birthday parties and family events and what have you. And it's very important to give credit where credit is due because nobody does it alone. It's all cause and effect.
Yes.
But had he not come that day, and done an amazing sales pitch, at the right time, but then provided constant support for years. I mean, he was, my emotional support animal. He would feed me home cooked meals when I'd be melting down. I mean, entrepreneurship, is not.
You gotta feed it.
It's not glamorous, and it's not for the weak. It's very stressful. So not only did he pitch the idea, but also stayed along for the entire journey.
Well, I did it all for love.
Oh,
that was my motivation.
Now it's gonna get good.
I couldn't care about dance.
right.
But I thought if she's gonna drop dead chasing this thing, I'm gonna die with it.
No, but you saw the value of the company.
No, I did, but that was not my main motivation.
Yeah, no, and so how beautiful it is. So fast forward 20 some years.
They had love.
And again, why, another nugget, from this episode that we hope you take away is just, the teamwork, the opportunity, not giving up, and then the power of what it does. So many people online talk about, business and branding and internet and marketing and, become a millionaire. We achieved that as a team, many, many years ago before we could brag about it. And it's actually a little uncomfortable to talk about it now.
Family is a force.
Family is a force. Yeah. When everybody's doing their part and pulling their weight.
Yeah. Even when everybody's down on it, the family can pull it together and tromp on them.
But you need the leadership.
Yes.
Which you provided. And you also need the vision. Right. And so you had created this beautiful thing that was just ready to blossom. The soil was pure. I mean, if you want to use that analogy, right?
Yeah.
The soil was pure. The seeds were strong. It came from great genetics.
Didn't at one point Rainbow became the largest competition in the country?
I mean,
it was close.
Well, so if you were asking for number of events and were they sold out? Yes. So before you guys decided to sell your shares to me, and before I ended up taking on another partner, we were at 18 sold out events for 3-day events. Mind you, that was before the days of 4-day events, 5-day events. Yeah. So yes, for that time period.
Since you're an accountant also, round numbers, how many dancers would that be in 18 events?
So we were at 11,000 acts. So
that's pretty big.
That's pretty big, because fast forward all these years later. So that was 11,000 acts at 18 events. Last year, this past season, I put on 40 events and I had 20,800 acts.
Wow.
Beautiful.
So as you can see, the average per event is a little lower. Okay. But it's still there. So
for clarification, Duke, for your podcast listeners, an act can be one person or 100.
An act can be one person or 100. Okay. Correct. Yeah. So, but the growth really was, and that's another reason why I wanted to bring you guys on, because I'm most proud of what we accomplished in 7 years.
Yes.
So in 7 years, single mom,
a prisoner with a ball and chain,
prisoner with the ball and chain, joins family business, pays off debt,
gave up the braces,
turned it into a profitable and cash flowing business. You got to retire.
Yes.
You didn't have to drive trucks anymore,
No.
right? You got to travel.
Beautiful travel.
You got to do some nice travel. You got to make your home beautiful.
Well, nice travel. Let's just put it this way. Venice 3 times, plane, train, and ship.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also dined with the captain of the Queen Mary.
Not too shabby.
Something I came up with.
Thinking big. Thinking big. Yeah, I mean, it was, Rainbow was really powerful. In that 7 years, changed the complete trajectory of our whole lives, because we were operating very responsibly. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you guys were in a position to put some money aside. Mm-hmm. I acquired a couple properties in Vegas. So over the course of the years, we've now converted some of those investments. We all live in California. Our homes are paid for.
And thanks to you, we're in this beautiful Laguna Woods, because when I got here, I was going, what's it, Leisure World? Who are all these old people? I don't want to be around these old people. I was old already. I just didn't quite feel it.
Yeah.
And so finally, we came and looked at the golf course, this and that. And I went, Amber's got something here. So you take credit for that.
Okay. Well, actually, I was trying to put you in Leisure World by me in Los Al, not just because of I didn't know California yet, but Laguna Woods is prestigious.
Yeah, Leisure World.
Okay, Leisure World.
Seal Beach.
That wouldn't work.
I was there, I knew someone there, and these people are running around on tricycles. and I went like, I played golf for 55 years. I'm with people that are on tricycles.
Yeah.
Hello.
No, yeah. So we're definitely upgraded.
Yes.
But that's and so obviously the business has grown 10 more years, exponentially. And over that course of time, which is pretty cool because you got to experience, I get to experience it, is you went from business owner operator to business owner.
Yes.
And then you had an exit strategy.
Yes.
Okay. And so now I have gone from business owner operator, and now I'm just business owner. I really only do a little bit of the operations on the finance side. Mm-hmm. So I have a whole team, a CEO, et cetera, that runs the business. So I get to do podcasting.
Nobody would understand how complicated it was to arrange 22 cities at the time, getting the truck there.
No internet.
No
MapQuest.
No cell phones.
No cell phones.
I want to call her. I have to go to a gas station.
And no website.
No website.
No paying by credit card. How do you market with no website?
Oh, remember, I fought to get a website.
No smartphones. I mean, not even dumb phones.
No. And then when the judge's planes are late, what do you do then? Yeah. I mean, it was a different world entirely.
I think we've come a long way.
We've come a long way. Yeah. We've come a long way. So the overall, just real quick, anything that's on your heart that you think would be important for our audience, whether it be about the mindset, the business, the family business. So go for it.
I think what you've just heard, if she doesn't charm the life out of you and impress you with her ability, turn the damn thing off.
There you go, Mom.
Well, I'm just thinking about the kids, not the dancers, but the children that are now becoming adults, and their parents say, we'd love you to take over the family business, or we'd like you to become involved in it. And most of the time, the kids, ooh, why would I want to do, they don't want any part of it. I say, think about it. Just think about the years that have been put into this already. And you've got something already started. Go for it and bring your own talent, which is what she did, to change it. Change it, make it better.
You know what impressed me too, after all these years, maybe 20 now since we were relieved of it by you. She still gets, what is it, Facebook, or what is it called, where they go, you know what? I was in the second grade when you were teaching.
Oh, yeah.
I'm now on Broadway. I mean, she constantly gets these things. So her teaching was off the chart.
Oh yeah, it's an incredible gift, and people share it with me, and then I share it with you. And I mean, this vehicle. Not only did it change our lives, I mean, it's changed hundreds of lives. I mean, I employ hundreds of people. I see tens of thousands of dancers. I work with thousands of dance studio owners. It is the biggest honor to be a part of an industry that is so important in our world.
You know what, Amber? Just explain this briefly, because a lot of people don't understand. Where do the dancers come from? They're in individual dance
studios
where they train.
Yep, studios have dance teams.
Then they enroll to get into a competition like Rainbow, and then they get their trophies and they can bring it back to their studio.
Yep,
and display them. So there's a little chain of events that.
It's not only that. When they compete, they have a wonderful time. They love it, and they want to get better. What can I do to be as good as that girl? Well, I'm going to go back and enroll in another ballet class. Good all around. Good for everybody. But look what it's done. I think competition has done a lot for the caliber of dancers we have. Look at So You Think We Can Dance. All
everything is dance.
Everything is dance.
Every commercial.
And it's state of the art. It's beautiful.
Yeah. No, it really is, and I'm hoping that at some point the industry does evolve to compensate dancers properly.
Yes.
And that's another thing too, to be in, and that's something that's always been top of mind for me, to be in the dance competition industry. As he stated, you go from dance studio to dance competition. So my clients are dance studios, and I know how hard dance studio owners work because my mom had a dance studio for 20 years, and I saw that. And that's why I was so not attracted to the industry.
I know you were.
Because I watched it, and it's, and it just like education and teaching, oftentimes if the dance studio owner doesn't have it structured properly, they're not profitable, frankly,
I never asked, what exactly did you do at the prison before I broke it up?
So I started out in juvenile services, and then I went onto the more administrative side. So I worked with judges for OR releases, and I made recommendations.
That's why you wanted to study law at some time, I think, too.
Right. Yeah.
I just said, you know what? Here you can pick up a company in 10 minutes. You could study law before you get your first client in 10 years.
And that's all very true. So I've also used this business as a vehicle, because now running the business, who knew that I would become so savvy in logistics, marketing, right? Because now I have to figure out how to get 13 trucks around the country. I have to figure out how to manage hundreds of people. So I know human resources. I know operations. At one point, we were manufacturing our own awards. So I understand how to do that. We obviously have our own merchandising, right? So and we place orders in China, and, we cut and sew, and we screen print. And
we made one mistake one time. We made trophies out of marble. They weighed about 35 pounds apiece. The kid couldn't even lift it.
Right.
And
The evolution of our
and
awards.
Dan, my friend that got me into the big business, for a while before he passed away, I used to put all the trophies in his garage.
That was in Fallbrook.
But you know,
Yeah.
but you know what too is I remember because people always send me pictures. Speaking of awards, is you always told me God is in the details, and I really didn't understand that at the time. But you had these beautiful, prestigious acrylic trophies. You were spending 4 times per award
I know.
than any other dance competition because it was important to you.
It was.
And you didn't care. You did not. It didn't matter to you. And again, because this is a podcast, about money, right? Yeah. And so, at that time in 2000, I was making more at my job at the county than my mom was making because obviously I had seen her tax returns, right?
Guilty.
And she was putting all of her profit into giving the best experience. You had people coming, auditioning kids for cruise ships and Disney. Everything came out of your pocket personally to give the best experience to the dancers, to the industry, to the dance studio owners. And nobody knew that you were living on less than $20,000 a year. Okay.
They know now.
They know now. So this is why this story is so, so beautiful. And I'm just excited to be honest and transparent with you, to show you where it started,
Yep.
What's possible, and what it looks like today. A lot of peace of mind, a lot of gratitude.
Yeah. One of the things that Vicki did that attracts the studio is that we cared about so many things, and their parents of the studio of the children picked up on that.
Yeah.
And I think the award with the bear,
the mascot award,
was one of them. That that we didn't overlook anybody.
Yeah, no, yeah, and one of our taglines is still the competition with the heart. And
that was it, the competition with the heart.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I came up with that.
Yes, you did. Hello, marketing genius right here. And I'm friends with many dance competition owners, individuals who work with us, and they work with many of us. They always tell me that when they come work for Rainbow or when they produce a Rainbow event, even now, with all the technology and all the production and all the sophistication, they say it's different. It feels different. There's just so much heart.
Heart.
Yeah. So I definitely think
you brought a ton of heart too.
Yes,
did. I did. Well, I dovetailed off of what you did. But it just came natural. Obviously I that's how I was raised.
Yeah, I kind of picked it up.
Yeah, I picked it up. And again, that's, what we're most proud of. We've done well for ourselves. Could we be more profitable? Could we have gotten bigger? Could we have done more? I'm certain. I
would like to leave a little coda or a warning. Anybody watching this that wants to rush out and start their own dance competition.
Don't.
You may not live long enough.
It was on a hope and a prayer, okay? A lot of it was on a hope and a prayer. But we made it, and we pray that our story will inspire you to...
I look like the Beverly Hillsbury driving that truck. Canvas keeping the rain off the top. And I'm wondering if the tires are going to blow.
Inspire you to think big. And that's where we're going to leave it.